Today on Around Kansas, Deb shares some upcoming events and reveals a new travel guide here in Kansas. Then Dave Kendall is back with some misconceptions about the Santa Fe Trail. On the Front Porch, Kansas football legend Jordy Nelson. Ron Wilson is back with an entertaining poem, and we end with a flashback of Thanksgiving past with our dear friend Frankie C.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich. It's wonderful to have you with us this morning. In this month, the last Wednesday of our month of gratitude and thankfulness. And once again, I'm thankful for each and every one of you. And also thankful for all the other jobs that I have. There's just no end. And especially being a historian in residence at the Fort Wallace Museum. And that is made possible through the efforts of the Garvey, Texas Foundation. Anyway, those good folks are down in Fort Worth, and we sure appreciate the fact that they make it possible for me to stay involved with Fort Wallace Museum. And we are always trying to think of new ideas, new things to keep the public involved, to keep the public educated. So one of our continuing education classes is coming up January 24th, and this one will be the life of Charles Curtis, our vice president under Herbert Hoover, and the very first person of color to hold that high position. So it starts at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we're hoping that you can join us, and the fee is $10. That keeps the heat on. So if you want a warm building on that cold winter's day, bring your $10 with you. And we are going to try to stream it. So we may do Facebook Live, something. We'll try to figure out some way to stream the video so that if you can't make it all the way out to Wallace, that you can still enjoy the class and learn a lot about a very, very interesting Kansan. We have the new Northwest Kansas Travel Guide, and boy, is it spectacular. The ultimate travel guide, and it is ultimate, all right. Some gorgeous pictures in here. Makes you want to just get out and explore right now. So many places to get out and explore the outdoors, so you can maintain your social distancing, have a beautiful walk outside, and introduce the kids to some great geology and geography at the same time, some paleontology, maybe some archaeology, just all kinds of ologies you can find out there. So just beautiful, beautiful job, guys. And don't forget to stop at Mittens when you come out this way, you know, the front door to Western Kansas exploration. And fuel up and grab a bite at IHOP or Subway there. And once again, tell them that Deb sent you when you arrive. I have a special shout out to the town of Lecompton, who, you know, was my hometown there for a while. And their Christmas display is up. And if you listen to the ad that's playing in the show today, it says they have 50 Christmas trees. They actually have 110 trees because they just couldn't control themselves. They couldn't stop. So 110 Christmas trees for your viewing pleasure. But that's still spaced out enough for you to have some social distancing. So visit Lecompton and tell them that Deb sent you over there. And visit Constitution Hall and our friend Tim Ruiz, who just won the We Can Award from the Kansas Sampler Foundation. We're so proud of Tim. And our friend for a long, long time, as are Paul Bonmeyer and all the folks over at the Territorial Capitol Museum. So much to see and do in that little bitty town right there on the banks of the Kaw. We have a great show for you this morning, so you stay with us.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
Dave Kendall has been bringing us some great segments about the Santa Fe Trail, and this is another one featuring Jenny Chin, who is president of executive director of the Kansas State Historical Society. And so we're so grateful to Dave once more for bringing these beautiful segments to us, and his insights, which are how all these segments get created. He just does a wonderful job.
What do you think the public's biggest misconception about the trail today is?
The thing I hear the most that is the biggest misconception is that it was an immigrant trail and that people were traveling to go live down in the Southwest. And of course that's what the Oregon Trail is, taking the immigrants from the east to the west coast ultimately. And most people confuse the two or don't understand that they were two very different things. So I really still think the idea that the Santa Fe Trail was for commerce is not that commonly known among the general public.
But the movies that we've seen and the TV shows that we've seen and the stories that we've read, it's always covered wagons. I mean,
yes.
that's if you were to ask people about a trail, my guess is, if you ask the average person, that's the image that would come. Yes. So it's hard for people not to think that way.
It is very hard. I think that there's been a great romance with the West, particularly in Hollywood movies, dime novels. It was very prevalent in the early part of the 20th century, in the mid part of the 20th century, and it's hard to not have those images in your head. My experience is there's very little truth in many of those. I think to go back to the reason you're making this film would be that, the Santa Fe Trail is a significant part of westward expansion. When I really sat down and outlined that and looked at the principles that really pushed westward expansion, Kansas is in the middle of all the stories, even to the point of the gold rush was a major factor, and the secondary gold rush was at Pikes Peak, which Kansas owned at that time. So almost all of the stories, the Mexican War is one of those factors for westward expansion, and it's something that was an aha moment for me this year, was like, we can tell this story totally from the perspective of what many historians say is one of the most important movements in American history.
So how does the state of Kansas go about telling that story?
I guess I'm going to turn this question a little bit. We are in the process of reinterpreting Kaw Mission for the bicentennial of the Santa Fe Trail. And we're also in the process of reinterpreting the Kansas Museum of History. And I think what we're trying hard to do today as cultural and historical institutions is to tell the nuanced story. We try to get different voices in. We try to think of it as what it is, which is an international trade route. And that's what makes the Santa Fe Trail a spectacular thing to study and be interested in. And it is as significant as the Gold Rush. It is as significant as Bleeding Kansas and the Kansas-Nebraska Act. It is as significant as the Mexican War for the western part of U.S. history. But it is a significant part of this nation and what makes the American nation what it is.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun. The Territorial Capitol Museum in Lecompton has selected 50 of its most beautiful and most historic trees for display this year, making it possible for you to celebrate the season and maintain your social distancing. Visit all of our attractions when you come to Lecompton. Visit both museums and our local shops and restaurants. And Merry Christmas from everyone here.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
Today on Around Kansas, we talk with former K-State Wildcat All-American and Super Bowl champion Jordy Nelson. He shares thoughts about Nelson's landing in his hometown of Leonardville, having to shut their doors, his mom getting to be grandma, and thoughts of what it would have been like trying to NFL this season. Grandma gets to be full-time grandma now, right?
Absolutely. That's things are getting put in perspective every once in a while, and this is one of them. Obviously, with the pandemic, there's a lot of people from out of town when Mom was trying to stay open and do to-go orders or whatnot, or have like 10, 20 people in the restaurant. People from Nebraska were calling because she was the only one still open, letting people in and wanted to come down. So that's when she decided to shut it down because she didn't want to be the one to be the reason why the coronavirus got brought into our town. So then obviously things opened back up, and now they're shut back down, and she just wasn't going to play that game. And she's realized how fun it is to be around the kids and the grandkids and go to their ball games and have weekends available to her and stuff like that. So she enjoyed her time running the restaurant, has a lot of memories, a lot of fun times, but it's time to be grandma.
Yeah.
It's fun to have her around a little bit more.
That's great. I'm happy for Kim and for the families as well. And I guess real quickly before I let you go, Jordy, the NFL season still kind of in flux. They're planning on playing. We're all hoping that happens. Are you kind of happy that you're not in the middle of those indecisions right now?
I am, actually. Emily and I talked about that the other day as to how rough would it be if I'd have played another year or two, and this was, say this was going to be my last year leading into it, and have to deal with this, and not knowing if we're going to play, if they're going to play, if it'd be 6 games, 16 games, 10 games, get moved back to the spring. I mean, it just would have been so much more chaos. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm not a part of it. Hopefully they can get something figured out and get it going. I think we'll learn a lot here in the next month with basketball and baseball going and see how it's going to happen. So hopefully for the NFL and for K-State and all the other college sports that they can get it fired up, even if it's without fans. I know it won't be as fun, especially I'd be as disappointed as anyone not getting to go to K-State games, but that would be a small sacrifice to be able to watch it on Saturday and Sunday on TV at least.
It's Super Bowl champion and former K-State Wildcat great Jordy Nelson. Around Kansas.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org. The Territorial Capitol Museum in Lecompton has selected 50 of its most beautiful and most historic trees for display this year, making it possible for you to celebrate the season and maintain your social distancing. Visit all of our attractions when you come to Lecompton. Visit both museums and our local shops and restaurants. And Merry Christmas from everyone here.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Baxter Black says cowboy poetry is about wrecks. It's about horse wrecks and cattle wrecks and goat wrecks and all kinds of wrecks. But the advent of the four-wheeler has created a whole new set of opportunities for a cowboy to get into a predicament. This poem is called Four Wheels, One Steer, Two Cowboys, and Half a Brain. Dub was just a loafing down at the old corral. He was taking turns as the roping dummy with Casey, his best pal. Then Dub saw a sight that surely made him wince. That big red steer was out on the far side of the fence. Dub kept watching that steer, keeping his eyes peeled, so he saw that steer head for the neighbor's alfalfa field. "That steer's out, Casey," he called to his friend. "Let's saddle up and rope him and bring him back in." But before they could make their move to depart, there intervened an example of what I call cowboy smarts. "We can't wait," said Casey. "There's no time for horse and tack. I'll get the new four-wheeler. You just hop up on the back." So Casey fired up the brand new four-wheeler they'd purchased just that week from their farm equipment dealer. Dub jumped up on the back with his rope in his hand, and the cowboys gave chase across the rough prairie land. The steer started to run, but the four-wheeler was fast, and they were soon in range that his rope could be cast. Dub uncoiled his rope and made a perfect throw, like Dustin Bird at the National Finals Rodeo. But his shout of celebration and victorious grin quickly turned to a look of regret and chagrin. For the steer hit the rope at the end at full speed, without Dub in the saddle of his usual steed. The rope jerked the cowboy from the four-wheeler's back bumper, and he flew through the air like an Olympic high jumper. He came in for a landing with a resounding crash as the steer continued to go at a dash. "Let go," hollered Casey in a helpful bid to relieve, but the rope was now coiled around the other cowboy's sleeve. So Dub continued on his meteoric trip like the rawhide button at the end of a whip. His journey continued in leaps and in bounds, and occasional contact with the hard pasture ground. Then the steer reached the neighbor's alfalfa crop, and young Dub dragged in to a merciful stop. Casey drove up to find the steer grazing and standing, near where Dub had come in for his final crash landing. Casey said, in an effort to deflect Dub's dismay, "Well, you've learned you can rope a steer this way." Dub replied with a glare, "If I do this again, by heck, next time I'll take my dally around the driver's neck." Happy trails.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
I was going through some of our archives and I found this really sweet segment about Thanksgiving that Frankie and I did a couple of years ago, and I just wanted to share it with all of y'all. And if you would just indulge me, and let's go back down memory lane this morning with our friend Frankie C and the story of how Thanksgiving got started.
And we're here on Thanksgiving Eve, so I guess we'll all be going home to peel potatoes and thaw turkeys and all those wonderful Thanksgiving traditions that we have. The Norman Rockwell. That's what our thing. How about you, Frank? That's what our Thanksgiving looks like. How about you?
Yeah. Well, our Thanksgivings now, since we're getting older and our children are getting older, we still do the turkey. Mm-hmm. We'll do the turkey, and then they do everything else, and then we gather and stuff ourselves.
When her husband died suddenly in 1822, Sarah Josepha Hale found herself and her 5 children in dire need of a steady income. Friends backed the anonymous publication of a collection of her poetry, and she began to submit stories and poems to literary magazines. Sarah quickly gained the attention and respect of editors of the leading periodicals. Though a prolific writer, she is most remembered for Mary Had a Little Lamb. Asked by a Boston publishing firm to edit the first American magazine written for women, Sarah moved her family from New Hampshire to Boston in 1828. She applied scrupulous editorial standards to the ladies' magazine, accepting only original material and soliciting female writers. When Louis Godey purchased the magazine, she became the editor of Godey's Ladies' Book. She moved to Philadelphia and made Godey's the leading American women's literary and fashion periodical for the following 4 decades. Though not a supporter of women's suffrage because of the corrupting nature of politics, she consistently advocated education, exercise, property rights, and sensible fashion for women. She ardently lobbied to have Thanksgiving recognized as a national holiday. It had been regularly celebrated by different parts of the country, but not uniformly. During the Civil War, Sarah wrote to President Abraham Lincoln, and he delivered. In October 1863, Lincoln declared, "I do therefore invite my fellow citizens in every part of the United States, and also those who are at sea and those who are sojourning in foreign lands, to set apart and observe the last Thursday of November next as a day of thanksgiving, and praise to our beneficent Father who dwelleth in the heavens." Sarah passed away at the age of 89, and her body rests in Philadelphia's Laurel Hill Cemetery. She is certainly not forgotten, and Carol Lieberman of the Union League Civil War Roundtable portrays Sarah at numerous events, including the recent unveiling of an historical marker in her honor. As you sit down to your turkey dinner, sing a round of Mary Had a Little Lamb and toast the remarkable widow, Sarah Josepha Hale.
Have a blessed Thanksgiving. I'm Deb Goodrich, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
When your college career begins, you'll have the opportunity to build upon your skills. One of those opportunities could be joining a Collegiate Farm Bureau chapter. With programs at 19, 2, and 4-year schools around the state, you can't go far without the possibility of joining a chapter. Collegiate Farm Bureau provides opportunities to build your network with other students, connect to leaders and mentors, develop a greater understanding of ag in Kansas and around the United States, share your knowledge with kids, consumers, and elected officials, experience statewide events and conferences, compete in contests to build essential skills and win great prizes, and gain eligibility for scholarships.
It helps you understand Farm Bureau a little bit more.
I got to be involved on the county, collegiate, district, and state levels.
And my favorite part from the program is being involved in the leadership aspect of it and just gaining skills that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Want to learn more? Visit www.kfb.org/collegiate.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.